Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Mythgard in Middle-earth here on Lotro Stream. So today, Gryfflet is still in Bree, so we're here at the west gate of Bree. I'm just realizing as I'm putting this on that I had forgotten to turn my music down, which, especially when, hopefully, we go in the Old Forest, will become relevant. So, again, here we are at the west gate of Bree. This is the main entrance of Bree through which Frodo and Merry and Pippin and Sam will have come now. I think, right, for the last we talked to Strider, they were actually there in the inn, so somewhere in there. This is, as I recall, sort of, if I'm remembering this correctly, Strider's words, we are now doing this part of our adventure on the day on which they are sort of staying in the inn and not leaving yet. So we better hustle, in other words, because we got stuff to do before Strider takes off. So I'm going to be running a long ways. Remember, he sent me back to talk to Lenglin, who is the particularly twitchy ranger who was accompanying Aragorn on his side trip, which accomplished nothing while we were left to do all the work there in Chapter 1 of Book 2 of the Epic Quest. We have a bear. There is a bear, like, right in the road. Come on, bear, get out of the road. Boy, where are bounders? You know, they really should have bounders in Bree. In the Shire, this wouldn't be tolerated. It really wouldn't. The bounders would take care of this kind of thing. Bears, curious bears sitting in the middle of the woods, or sitting in the middle of the road. Anyhow, so, threatening to attack innocent hobbits as they're wandering back to talk to Lenglin the ranger. So as I was saying, the rangers are clearly not quite as proactive as the bounders. And the Bree Town Watch seems really incompetent in contrast. But anyway, so off we go to talk to Lenglin and find out what's going on back in the Shire. And this is going to bring us back into Buckland, which I'm excited about. Now, as I'm running, I have quite a bit of a haul. So as Gryfflet gets his aerobic exercise in here this morning, I'm going to answer a few... I see I was hailed by Fairvenon there. Hi, Fairvenon. Sorry I missed you. But anyway, so I'm going to answer a couple questions which had piled up from last week. Two really good questions which a lot of people ask, so I'm really glad to address them here. One, from Yana, I believe. Yana, longtime listener, frequent participant in my online classes. Yana from the Netherlands was asking about the sort of vexed pointy ear question. That is, okay, let me explain what I mean by that. The question is, here's Adso again, still not with his quest. No problem, Adso. We'll be back to help you out here in your prospective new inn. We know you need our help, so we'll be back. Anyway, so Yana asks, okay, there it is. What do elves in Tolkien have pointy ears? Everyone assumes that they do, right? You never see elves, and yet there's almost no textual evidence that they do. Tolkien never mentions it. It's never described. You can read the whole Lord of the Rings from cover to cover and look as carefully as you like, and you will never find any reference to the pointiness of the elves' ears. This has led some people to ask, well, maybe Tolkien did not, in fact, envision elves having pointy ears. Maybe that's something that we just is sort of an assumption that we bring to the text. And the answer to that is kind of interesting. There is very, very little. He almost never talked about this, and in part, this is a consequence of Tolkien very rarely discussing this kind of thing at all. That is, he spent very little time discussing how the characters looked. They're sort of dwelling on their physical appearance. So it's not shocking in that context that he wouldn't have talked about this. But one piece of evidence, one of the only times he ever even alluded to this thing was in his letters, and it comes parenthetically. It's okay. It's not exactly parenthesis. It's a. But anyway, not literally parenthetically, but close to literally parenthetically. in a comment about hobbits' ears. So this is in letter 27 in his published letters, and the context of this is back right around the time of the publication of The Hobbit. He's talking to the Houghton Mifflin Company here in America, who had the license to publish The Hobbit in America, still do, and they were wanting illustrations, and this was right before they had accepted his own illustrations for the book. And so he was giving some instructions in case they were going to hire somebody to draw pictures for The Hobbit. So he was describing what hobbits looked like. And here's what he says. He says, "I picture a fairly human figure, not a kind of fairy rabbit, as some of my British reviewers seem to fancy. Fattish in the stomach, shortish in the leg. A round, jovial face." Okay, and then ready? Here it comes. "Ears only slightly pointed and, quote, elvish. Hair short and curling, brown." Okay, so he says hobbits have slightly elvish ears. Slightly pointed elvish ears. So he seems to make the same assumption everybody else does, that elves have pointed ears. And that reference, like his tossing off that elvish adjective in that description of hobbits, is one of the only pieces of evidence in all of Tolkien's entire writings which can actually lead us to conclude that he assumed that elves had pointed ears. So there you go. Yeah, yes, it seems that elves do have pointed ears, at least based on the only piece of evidence we have. And apparently also so do hobbits, though apparently less distinctly than elves do. So this is something, by the way, that Peter Jackson and company got right. You'll notice that they do the prosthetic pointy ear bits for the hobbits in the films, which is in fact inspired by this letter and this description. So, okay. So that's a really cool question, which you'd think would be easier to answer than it actually is. But anyway, here we are at Langwin. That answer brought us all the way to Langwin the Langer, who's just kind of chilling, It's like, I got a campfire. I'm lounging. I like his posture here. Hey, yeah. You alright? Hey, just kind of... He looks like he's sort of lounging on a Roman dining couch. If we put like a little plate of grapes or something here at his elbow. But Langwin, you should stop writhing. You'd look much more decadently Roman if you stopped writhing. But anyway, sorry, Langwin, I'll stop critiquing your posture. Of course, Aragorn sent aid, and better, Langwin, he sent me again to do your job for you again. So this is your lucky day. Nazgul, 4 more were in Buckland. Okay, so 5 were in Bree, 4 in Buckland. We've accounted for them all. They rode swiftly to the east upon black steeds. I was foolish enough to stand in their way, and they ran me down. Ooh, that's going to leave a mark. I will heal in time. Maybe. But the riders have left a thread in their wake that must be dealt with. I must ask for your help. Yeah, you need like an orthopod or something? I mean, you have broken bones? Is your spine all right, man? I mean, Anyway, okay. In the Black Rider's wake, crabine have taken roost. Really? They are not the common strain from Dunland. Oh, of course, as a hobbit from the Shire, I know all about different species of crabine from Dunland, obviously. But a breed I have not seen before. Likely these foul creatures keep watch on Buckland in the Shire, okay, or at very least me, since they have taken to staring at me in the night. Yeah, but that's unsettling. While the crabine may see nothing of interest, the fact that the enemy has eyes here is dangerous. If we were to blind these eyes, the enemy would not be as sure in directing its efforts. Okay, dispose of the crabine. All right. Kill crows. This I can do. I got to tell you, Langwin, I think this job is a little below my pay grade. I'm not going to complain, though. Let's... Ooh. You know what? My action ninja outfit is kind of especially appropriate for because I've got this like raven thing motif going on my cloak there, so it would be kind of a special way to taunt the crabine here. I have to say I'm not real sure about the usage of the crabine here in this context. That is, of course, we do see the crabine, obviously, as spies in the Fellowship of the Ring. And that's I mean, it's not that that's not something that they do, and that this is therefore sort of an unreasonable um, job for them to be sent on. But the question is, whom do they work for exactly? Is there evidence that the Black Riders specifically would be able to command the Crabine? Did they come, equipped with flocks of... Get over here, Mr. Crow. Did they come equipped with flocks of Crabine to do their spying for them? I rather doubt it, since again the implication, again, at least as far as I can see, the implication is that the Crabine are probably spies of Saruman's rather than spies of Sauron's. The ones that they meet in the Fellowship of the Ring, I mean. The fact that they come from Dunland is somewhat suggestive. So, I mean, would they have even worked with the Black Riders? I don't really know. Crabine don't really seem like the enemy's, Sauron's sort of speed. But anyway, I mean, they are sort of in that role, and I can accept that. Though, Lenglin, I got to tell you, I don't feel like I did that much. I mean, there are like 20 Crabine, and they regen like crazy. I only killed 4 of them, so I don't think it's really made much difference, but I did my best. Okay. All right. Those 4 must have been the pivotal 4, which were coordinating the efforts of all the others, and so therefore I must have accomplished something. Okay. Okay. I'm glad you have something other to do than for me. Then okay. Something in Buckland. It was their horn call that alerted me to the presence of the Nazgul. Okay.
Stay a moment.
Okay. Underhill is with Aragorn. Yeah, that's the rumor. You don't know of any Underhills. You were sent to watch over a Baggins. What, you didn't get the Underhill memo? Oh yeah, Gandalf didn't talk to Strider, so that's realistic. He left a note for him, I guess. But anyway, apparently Langlin still hasn't gotten the memo. Okay, that's the one whom Aragorn spoke of, probably. Okay, good. Yep, he's safe. So you got ridden down for nothing. You just get out of the way, man. Like, what good is it trying to... Like, did you seriously just, like, throw yourself in the path of 4 galloping horses and we're all like, stop, Black Riders? That was not smart, Langlin. He's not the sharpest ranger in the pack, I think. Okay, late last night when you heard the horn call of Buckland, right, and then you saw them leaving Buckland at a gallop, okay, right, let the little people blow, they were saying to themselves. I happen to know, Langlin, though you probably don't know that. I tried to stop them, right, yeah, you mentioned that, right, okay. Feared they'd already found Baggins. Now the 4 riders passed eastward toward Bree, but we may discover what they learned, if anything, at Baggins' home in Crick Hollow. Yeah, let's go to Frodo's house in Crick Hollow. What a good idea. Okay, cottage surrounded by a high hedge. Okay, no problem. All right, I'll let you know what I find there. Hang on. Boy, wait, I'm going back among ordinary, decent hobbits. Don't want to scare the Bucklanders. Okay. By the way, I love the horn call of Buckland in the book. It's one of those places where, of course, if you've ever heard a horn, like a hunting horn, being blown, you can see how Tolkien has sort of taken that and rendered it into words. So the fear, fire, foes awake, fire, foes awake, is exactly, fear, do, 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 do. I love how he puts words to it, because of course different horn calls would have signified different things. Normally that's what you do with hunting horns. You have different calls for different things, and so the idea of the horn call being translated into sort of signifying something different, and so therefore sort of translated into words, makes perfect sense. But again, I love how he makes it so easy to hear the horn call in your head. Tolkien had such a wonderful ear for words, and in general, it's one of the things that makes his poetry so awesome. But hey, Celandine. Oh, by the way, we did some research. Fairvenin did, in fact, get back to me and say that I was correct, that Celandine is, in fact, there is a flower, as I knew there would be a flower, called Celandine, and it is, in fact, pronounced with a soft C, so Celandine Brandybuck is, in fact, correct there. But, hey, cow. All right, past the livestock and over in this direction. We're going to Crick Hollow. Okay, here's the high hedge. I think this is it. Boy, this is a little moated grange that Mary has picked out for Frodo here. Talk about privacy. Yikes. Ah, we've got a Bjorning here. I'll leave you to it here. You're good. You're good. Okay. Somebody else is doing the epic quest line there. We'll just be patient for a second. Okay. All right. Meanwhile, let's look around at Buckland. So, outside over here, so this is the private entrance to the old forest, right? So now this is a hedge. It looks a lot like that wall in Bree, but I think the wall in Bree is supposed to not to be a hedge. Maybe it's a hedge in Bree. I thought it was an ivy-covered wall, but ivy-covered wall. I suppose it could be a hedge. But this, of course, is very definitely a hedge. And of course, the res circle, not actually in the book, but sort of implied in the book. Okay. See if our Bjorning friend is done. Gotta let other people do their thing. Excuse me, I'm looking for Fatty Bulger. Is he at leisure? Okay, good. Here he is. All right, Fredegar Bulger, and he is, gotta say, he's a bit on the tubby side. Yes, he is. Hey, Fatty. So Fatty's got some of Frodo's old clothes to help him play the part. So look at this. We've got the Black Riders were here and they broke this barrel thing. And look that they actually kicked down the door. And here's a cloak. This is one of those things, that just makes me so happy. It was the first time I ever came here. It was the first thing I looked for. When Gandalf arrives at Crick Hollow, he tells the story in the Council of Elrond. Gandalf arrives just soon after this scene has happened. And when he comes to Crick Hollow, he finds the house abandoned and the door broken in and one of Frodo's cloaks lying on the threshold with a long slash in it. So when I came here myself for the first time, the first thing I did was run over to the threshold and see if there was a cloak lying on it. And of course there is. They are usually very careful with that sort of detail. I don't see an actual slash in it, but there's only so much you can expect here. But anyway, here's Fatty Bulger still holding down the fort. What happened to the garden? What's this pile of dirt for? Did they actually dig up some of the carrots in the garden? Those jerks! They did! They just went through and dug up parts of the garden. Boy, those ring wraiths, I am telling you, that is so rude. Fatty, did you see what they did to the garden? That was so egregious.
Oh, gracious me.
I don't have it. Oh, no, I'm not a Black Rider. I look nothing like a Black Rider. Had I left my ninja costume on, I would understand your alarm. But, okay, I must tell you that I haven't been so frightened in my life. I bet you haven't. Did they learn anything from me? Well, those riders came busting into the house, but I had already slipped out the back way. That's right. Fatty Bulger kept his wits about him. When the sheriffs came, they made me tell them about Frodo and the others going off into the old forest, but I didn't say a thing about the enemy's ring. Yeah. Smooth, Fatty. Very, very smooth. Okay, cool. So, it was really interesting. Fatty actually, whose original name, I think in the original drafts of The Lord of the Ring, he was originally called Hamilcar, which is kind of a dignified name, Hamilcar Bulger, Hammy for short. But Fatty's a perfectly acceptable nickname anyhow. But anyway, so he was originally picked up by Gandalf, and Gandalf went riding off with him, and there was going to be he was considering doing more, using that is Tolkien was considering in the original drafts using Fatty Bulger as a more active decoy. So he was imagining for a while that Gandalf was going to come and he's going to find Fatty Bulger, and they were going to actually dress him up in Frodo's clothes, and Gandalf was going to gallop off with him and divert some of the Black Riders that way. Actually, sort of using Fatty, or at that time Hammy Bulger, as bait. In the end, of course, Gandalf never meets Fatty, or else he would have learned the whole story instead of assuming that they had caught Frodo, as it looks like here. Okay, because this looks pretty bad. I mean, the door's wrecked, the garden's ripped up. This looks like this is a bad scene. Oh, crows? Hey, what? They sure are coming close, those crows. Oh boy, are those some of my friends, the crabine? Yes, they are. Don't worry, fatty. I'm an expert at crabine slaying. I'm not perhaps an expert at keeping keep people alive, but those weren't very challenging. All right. More coming. Where? I don't see more. Where are they? Oh! Wow! They came in a hurry. Come on, you crows. Why am I not... Oh, phew. I didn't get them... I saw... I killed all of them. Some flew off into the old forest. Oh, did they? You hope they don't come back. Well, okay. All right. More crows. I gotta tell Lenglen about the crows. Okay. Well, thanks, Fatty. Good to say. Here's the back door that Fatty went through. Oh, man. Did they dig up the garden back here? They did! Man, they even came around the house and dug up the back garden? I am telling you. Ring wraiths these days. Okay. So let's go back to Lenglen. Tell him about the other crows, and some of them escaped into the old forest. I have a bad feeling about this. Okay, just going to take a little shortcut here. Go right through. Excuse me, cows, chickens, pigs. Yeah, don't mind me. Hi, townsperson. All right. Ooh. What a nice view of the Brandywine Bridge from here. Look at that. It almost looks like, I mean, with these gates here, it almost looks like a drawbridge, but it's not, of course, a drawbridge, but it almost looks like it should be a drawbridge. Anyway, it's a very imposing, impressive sort of beach. Bridge, not beach. Good. All right. There's Wilmac. Yeah, Rowell's still fine. He'll be coming along as soon as he hides the evidence. He's got to dispose of the body. Okay. Gotta go find Lenglen up by the crows. Okay, very good. My the other question I had to answer, well, I think I'll probably save it for when I'll probably save it for when we have to run all the way back into Bree. Yeah. W.M. Hunt asks, okay, I can't really pass by a rich silver deposit. Hunt asks, I've been wondering if there's ever been any speculation on what exactly Gandalf makes, where exactly Gandalf makes his fireworks. It seems like he would need some sort of lab and equipment. I don't think so. Gandalf's fireworks are magical. I mean, they're magic. Fire is what he does. You know, I mean, he's associated with fire. Now, see, this is kind of tricky because on the one hand, Tolkien talked about Gandalf and Gandalf's fireworks in ways that made them make all sorts of sense. That is, he was like, well, Gandalf was associated with fire from the beginning, and he was, he had, lots of talents with fire and lights, and he was wielding the Ring of Fire, so like fireworks, like it's what he did. But it's not. Gandalf was famous for his fireworks in Chapter 1 of The Hobbit, which was long before Gandalf was the wielder of the Ring of Fire, or indeed the Ring of Fire existed in Tolkien's imagination. So, historically speaking, in Tolkien's thought, that's not the way it worked. That is, Gandalf is not associated with fireworks because he was wielding the Ring of Fire, because they came the other way. But nevertheless, it's clear even in The Hobbit that Gandalf's fireworks are magical. I mean, we see him doing a sort of fireworks-ish thing, right, with the wargs in out of the frying pan into the fire when he's doing his fancy colored flames. I mean, they're basically the two firework-ish things that we see Gandalf doing magically. in The Hobbit are the flaming multicolored fire, queer fire too, pine cone thing, and the smoke rings, right? The multicolored smoke rings that chase each other around and then come back to hover about his head. So seeing what he's able to do with smoke and fire there should at least, I think, give us a hint as to how his fireworks work and the kind of things that he can make them do. So I think if we picture, Gandalf with, sort of lab equipment and, safety goggles and stuff like that, it's not gonna give us a fair picture of it, which is why I think, that whole fireworks quest chain that we did in Tookland is not really, I think, accurate. I mean, Gandalf didn't just have the recipe for the scientific making of fireworks with, saltpeter and the other things that we so dutifully collected. But rather, again, it was magic. So, I mean, one of the few most obvious examples of real magic. Remember, even for Sam, when he's talking about Galadriel and the elves in Lothlorien in the Fellowship of the Ring, when he says that he never sees anybody doing magic, right? While they're there in Lorien, the elves never show any fireworks like poor Gandalf used to show, as he says. Gandalf's fireworks are Sam's go-to illustration of somebody working magic overtly, right? So again, we have all kinds of hints that it's really a purely magical and not a chemical or alchemical thing. Anyway, okay, Langland, we've got another Crabine problem. The enemy's ring. Seriously, I wasn't going to pass that on to Langland. I mean, Langland is presumably on a need-to-know basis, and he threw himself in front of a riding horse, so can I trust him with this secret? I don't know. I wasn't going to tell him that. Man. Okay, if the Crabine heard Fredegar's words... Oh, so the crows might have overheard him blabbing. Oh dear, that is a problem. Oh, so now I've got to hunt down the Crabine in the old forest. No, that's not a simple task. Okay. All right. Ask Strider for advice on how to find a small number of crows, of particular crows in the old forest. That should be simple. Okay, so back to Bree to talk to Strider. Okay. Let me answer the other question that we had then from last time, which was, okay, right. Jesse D had asked, what do I think about the theories that the Arkenstone is the Silmaril that Maedhros took with him into the fire? That is an excellent question. In fact, I actually talked about that very thing this past Wednesday night at my Mythgard Academy class, the free class that I'm currently doing on Wednesday nights. Right now we're studying the Lays of Beleriand, Tolkien's Lays of Beleriand, which is volume 3 of the History of Middle-earth series. It's really cool. We just finished talking about the alliterative lay of the children of Húrin, and we're going to be moving on. We're going to be doing some of his miscellaneous shorter and unfinished works next week, and then we're going to move on to the Lay of Leithian, his longest, fullest treatment of the Baron Luthien story that he ever wrote. That was what Tolkien was writing in the late 20s, right before he shifted to start working on The Hobbit. So anyway, in the Lays of Beleriand class, we were noticing several passages from the Lay of the Children of Húrin from the Turin Turambar, the poetic version of the Turin Turambar story, that there are a bunch of things which Tolkien was going to go on and lift and put directly in The Hobbit. So in particular, the reference to the wine of Dorwinion that is so potent that it makes you fall right to sleep, and the description of of Tower Nafuan, the forest in northern Beleriand, where Turin is captured and then rescued, and the description of it sounds exactly like Mirkwood, and you can see that the idea for Mirkwood, this dark place where you're doomed if you leave the path, and this sort of magical darkness and mist is there. Anyway, that idea was something that he had clearly tried out there in the alliterative lay of Húrin, of the Lay of Turin, of the Children of Húrin. So we were talking about this issue about Tolkien's reuse of stuff from his legendarium from his early Silmarillion, those early Silmarillion ideas, the mythology that he'd been working on, and how those things pop up, especially in The Hobbit. By the time he gets to The Lord of the Rings, he had made the firm decision that he was going to connect the two of them, that all the Silmarillion stuff was going to work as a kind of prequel to The Lord of the Rings. That's a totally misleading way to describe it. But anyway, he was going to make it one contiguous story. When he was writing The Hobbit, that was not the case. When he was writing The Hobbit, it is my very firm opinion that when he sits down in 1930-ish to write The Hobbit, he is imagining it as being in a completely different world. He's borrowing stuff from his own, he's borrowing some of his own earlier ideas. He wants to use a lot of that material that he has, but he's not interested, he's not trying to make it contiguous, not trying to make it the same story. So there are a bunch of things that you can look at. I mean, the two little examples of the description of Mirkwood and the Wine of Dorwinion are the ones I was talking about on Wednesday. But of course, even things like the Elven King, right? The Elven King, the king of the woodland, of the elves of the woodland realm, who lives deep in the heart of the forest, of the nearly impenetrable forest, and his house is underground, and you get to it by a bridge over a river, and it has magic gates. The Elven King looks almost exactly like King Thingol from the Silmarillion tradition, and I think, in a sense, it was Thingol. That is, he had that idea of the Woodland King, didn't give him the same name, but he basically recycled that idea and put it into The Hobbit. We see him doing the same thing generally with Elrond and with Gondolin, though they're not exactly the same Elrond and Gondolin. Again, it's not a contiguous story. He's just recycling those names and, to an extent, those concepts as well. The same thing applies to the Arkenstone. And the fact that the Arkenstone looks like the Silmaril, this is no coincidence. It is meant to look exactly like the Silmaril. Tolkien loved the Silmarils. The idea of the Silmarils he found enchanting, and so his desire to include something very Silmaril-like, which would be highly desirable, and even possibly make people fight over it, is, again, not surprising that he would integrate that into his story. And again, it's not just that the Arkenstone looks a lot like a Silmaril and is described in very similar terms, but even the name is almost exactly the same. That is, where am I going? Oh yeah, Strider. When Tolkien, this is a thing that Tolkien did. Tolkien would he translated some of the versions of the chronicles of the First Age, the Silmarillion material. He translated some of that at length into Anglo-Saxon, because they were supposed to be transmitted by an Anglo-Saxon human. A person from the Anglo-Saxon era is going to bring these elvish stories back, and that's how they're going to be transmitted to the world. So, of course, for the sake of thoroughness, Tolkien actually translates them all into Anglo-Saxon prose. When he translated the Silmarillion stuff into Anglo-Saxon prose, the Anglo-Saxon word that he used as a translation of the name Silmaril, what the Silmarils were called, were Earkenstana, which literally in Anglo-Saxon translates essentially to holy stone or holy jewel. Earkenstana. And so Arkenstone is very obviously just a sort of a modernization of the Anglo-Saxon Earkenstana. So it's clear that in Tolkien's mind, the Arkenstone was, in a sense, a Silmaril. That is, it was the Silmaril idea being recycled into this Hobbit story that he's writing. But it's equally clear that Tolkien did not intend for that to be, once the two worlds were combined, which didn't happen in 1937. It didn't happen when he published the first edition of The Hobbit. It was only later, as he was developing The Lord of the Rings, that he made the decision, okay, the world of Bilbo Baggins, I'm going to take the world of Bilbo Baggins and I'm going to actually make it a part of that older world. That character named Elrond, the half-elven that they met, I'm not just going to make him a character who shares the same name as that Elrond from my mythology. I'm going to make him the same. I'm going to identify him with the Elrond from my mythology. Again, that's not a thing that Tolkien did originally, but as he planned The Lord of the Rings, that's what it came about. And you notice what happens to the Arkenstone as the Hobbit gets integrated? What happens to the Arkenstone? What happens to the Arkenstone in the Lord of the Rings? Trick question. Nothing, right? It disappears entirely. We get no reference to the Arkenstone. It's a non-factor. It's like been set aside, and Tolkien doesn't really want to talk because there's no place for a Silmaril in this world. The Silmaril is lost, and it's not found again. It's not in the Lonely Mountain. When those things are connected, Tolkien seems, by implication, and it's hard because it's making an argument based on absence, right? It's based on the fact that Tolkien didn't say anything about it. But it seems pretty clear that he did make a lot of those implied connections explicit. Some of them he went in one direction and actually identified them, like Elrond, right? He took Elrond and said, okay, no, Elrond really is that Elrond, right? But notice he takes the Elven King and says, no, that's not actually that Elven King, because that Elven King had a different story and his realm ended, right? That was Lúthien's dad. So the Elven King in Mirkwood is not Lúthien's dad. He's a different Elven King, so he invents a name for him, Thranduil, and gives him a different history, right? He's parallel to Thingol, but he's not identified, right? It seems pretty clear which category of things, that is, things that get identified with their first age versions and things that get separated from their first age versions. It seems pretty clear which camp the Arkenstone / Silmaril is in, right? That it does not get identified. It gets moved over, but also kind of hushed up, almost forgotten about, because he doesn't want to go there. It's a really interesting question. It's a very natural connection to make, and everyone who looks at the Arkenstone and says, "Hey, this sounds like a Silmaril," is completely right, absolutely. But actually, to invent a story, or to imagine a story in which that really is contiguous, and part of that same story, and in fact identical, that seems to be something that Tolkien rejected, or like aggressively did not follow up on, I guess, is the way I would say that. So anyway, okay, here we are.
You bring dire
back
news.
with Strider. Okay, yeah, dire news about the crows. Yeah, well, cause Fatty totally slipped up there. Okay, the four hobbits are safe for the moment. I love the idea that Frodo's in the next room here. Okay, right, the protection Bree offers is fleeting at best. Oh, agreed, right? Because you never know, Strider. Somebody might, break into the inn at night or something. We must leave soon. Yes, you must. And if the enemy's suspicions were confirmed that what they seek is no longer in the Shire, our trip may be all the more perilous. True. Okay. All right, no, it's not going to be easy finding the crows. This is why we got sent to you. Okay, one who might help us. Known by many people by many names. Oh, awesome. Okay, of old he was known as Orald to men, while the dwarves he was simply Forn. The elves called him Iarwain Benardar, oldest and fatherless. Yeah, absolutely. Tom Bombadil. Fantastic. We'll go to Tom Bombadil's house. We'll get his... I'm sure he'll be happy to help. What a good idea. If anybody can find a single crow in the forest, it would be Tom Bombadil. Hey there. I take it by your facial tattoo that you're a Bjorning too. Okay. All right. Back to... So we've got to go in and find the house of Tom Bombadil. We will do that. So we're going to go back to Adso's camp and we're going to go in that way. Hey, Nob, where is Bob? I haven't seen Bob anywhere. Does anyone know where I can find Bob? I mean, Nob is out here watering the horses. Which is all... That's good. That's his job. Is that this horse is escaping again? Look, hey, stop it! Man, that horse is so edgy. Where's Bob, though? He's somewhere inside the inn? I didn't find Bob. Maybe we'll have to do a hunt for Bob next time we come back. Where's Bob? So, okay. Back out to Adso's camp and to the old forest. We're beating a trail down and back on the east road today. Okay. And I think we're caught up on my... Yana had a follow-up question about the pointy ears thing. Yana's wondering where the pointy ears thing did come from, and are there references to it in mythology that we know of? Oh, hey La Pucelle, good to see you. I don't know, Yana. I don't know the answer to that question. It's a fascinating question, though. When did elves start having pointy ears, and why? I don't know. No idea. I don't recall. I'm thinking of descriptions of fairies or elves in medieval poetry. Certainly, I mean, my temptation is to say that the elves in medieval poetry don't have pointed ears. I mean, it doesn't say, of course, because who would say that, right? Who would in their description would be like, and their ears were not pointed, right? But I'm tempted to say that they don't. I mean, I'm thinking, for instance, of poems like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, or so the Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is probably not a good example. The reason I say it's not a good example is that he interacts with fairies there, but most of the fairies that he interacts with are like concealed, right? That is, he mistakes them for people, and he's meant to mistake them for regular people. So he doesn't. And so are they just? So obviously they don't have pointy ears, or he'd be like, these are my excellent hosts who have strangely pointy ears for some reason. That would kind of be a tip-off that they weren't actually human. But and so he doesn't see that. But again, they're trying to hide from him, so it's like, hey, maybe they were hiding their pointy ears. Who knows? The only one, of course, who doesn't obviously look human is, of course, the Green Knight himself, like to be like 8 feet tall and completely green. But it doesn't say his ears are pointed, right? Just that he's 8 feet tall and green. So yeah, I'm really not sure about that. Other places where the characters that they meet are more explicitly elvish are like Sir Orfeo or Sir Launfal, two other really famous medieval poems. One of which, anyway, Orfeo, Tolkien translated. And no, I don't think any even vague reference, but there's not that much physical description of them either. We know they're like gorgeous, they're devastatingly beautiful, and their clothes get described, like the very, very rich clothes dressed, they dressed like an emperor. But and we get description of the food that they eat. I mean, they eat well, but we don't know about their ears. So, the thing is, Yana, this could be more evidence for the possibility that the elves don't in Tolkien have pointy ears. If he's thinking of those traditional elves, he uses elvish in quotation marks to describe the pointy ears of the Hobbit. So he could there only be alluding to the fact that in the popular modern conception, everybody associates elves with pointy ears. But of course, everybody in the modern world that is in the 30s associated elves with like Tinkerbell, like creatures this big that hid in flowers and things. And obviously Tolkien wasn't envisioning his elves that way. So could he be, by saying their elves are only slightly elvish, or their ears are only slightly elvish, could he have meant merely to appeal to that popular concept without endorsing it, without saying elves, my elves, of course, also have pointy ears? It seems entirely possible, but I don't know. I mean, when that happened, I would be interested to learn when elves started having pointy ears and where the tradition comes from, because I don't know. Hey, Adso, good to talk to you finally. I'm going to pause and we're going on the way to see Tom Bombadil, but I want to talk to Adso here for a minute and do some of these things. So Adso, again, here's this enterprising hobbit entrepreneur who's setting up this nice new inn. Okay, yeah, you're in serious business. What's going on with you here, Adso? The satchel is the last payment I need to make to ensure the safety of the folks here. Who are you paying protection money to, Adso? Take it to the old Sweetgrass farm. Bill Fernie. Oh, you're paying off Bill Fernie? Oh, that is such a bad idea. Oh, great. He's only there at night. What time is it? Afternoon. Well, shoot. Oh, well. All the times we've broadcasted in the night and here, I wish it were night, and it's not. Oh, well. Well, let's go find Tom Bombadil and come back then. I was hoping we could do this in one trip into the Old Forest, but that's okay. We can make multiple trips because it's always fun going into the Old Forest. Oh, wait. I can summon him? Bring the bell by night or ring the bell to summon Fernie or his assistant? Oh, wait. Can I go during the day? Let's try it out. Since we're here, let's try it out during the day. We'll see if it works. Probably won't work. Will it work? Let's see. Okay. So here's the house. Here's this outlying farm, which I gotta tell you is much nicer than Bill Fernie's rundown old house in town. So here we see the exposure of Bill Fernie's clandestine connection with the brigand gangs. Okay. Oh, good. Maybe I can do this. Cool. Hey, Bill Fernie. Let's look at Bill Fernie here. What are you wearing on your feet? Are your feet just wrapped in rags or something? You wearing your slippers? Or striped socks? Boy, it was pretty ratty. You are not keeping yourself up too well, Bill, for somebody who's collecting protection money from hobbit entrepreneurs. Tell Adso the deal has been altered. Keep those payments coming. Oops. Did I spend too long admiring your wardrobe, Bill Fernie? Get back out here, Bill Fernie. I'm not done with you.
Why are you bothering me?
Soon Sharky's men will have all of Bree well in hand. Oh, dear. Cowards like that little worm Adso under heel. Oh, that's it. You better have another ready next week. Oh, man. You're altering the arrangement. See, and so this is why you don't give protection money to scumbags like Bill Fernie, because they always change the arrangement. The best way to deal with brigands and highway robbers like Bill Fernie, isn't that what Mary calls him in The Return of the King, are just to put on your ninja outfit and teach him what's what.
Hello?
Okay. You'll be driven to ruin. Nope. Hey, yeah, I take very small sums of money, really.
Might I speak with you a moment?
Stand up to him, I say. Yeah, don't give in. Don't worry, I'll protect you from the brigands. Absolutely, let's send a message. Wow, killed 12 of them. Alright, that's a message, alright. That's what I call being proactive. Okay, so Adso is really turned around here. No more sniveling worm he. Okay. Fine, so let's go up and find some brigands. Wonder if I can pick their pockets. Let's try. What a lovely spot. Deer in the fields, silver deposits, and brigands in the backyard. Okay, let's see. Don't walk away from me. Ha! Does it work? No? I got nothing. Oh, man. Oh well. Would you stop pacing around? Honestly. Is somebody supposed to start attacking you if you just keep pacing around like that? Alright. I can probably answer other questions while we kill. Would you get back here? Try to run away from me. Okay, I could probably answer questions while I'm chasing brigands around the cornfields over here. If anybody else has further questions. I think that the representation of the brigands is interesting. Of course, this is another way in which, obviously, the should it work? I'm not facing the target. It's because I can't see myself. Did I get anything? No, darn it! Useless. The organization of the brigands, I think, is interesting. I mean, again, it's one of those things where you can see, the kind of question that the Lotro people are having to ask, right? And that is, how do we get, what's the backstory of the, of the stuff that we see happening, as it's described in the books? We're gonna be told, of course, in the Fellowship of the Ring, we don't encounter these brigands. We encounter Bill Ferny, right, and we see what a jerk he is. But there's no. Seriously, don't make me run you down. Okay. But there's no. There's no indication of how we're gonna get from the situation of like Bill Ferny selling information to somebody and the full-fledged attack on Bree that we're going to get later on. We know that the brigands are being sent up from the south by Saruman. We know that... Was I just beating with my hands? Okay, no, I do have weapons equipped. Looks like I was just punching that guy, so that would not be good. Anyway, so it makes all kinds of sense. I mean, they are being sent up from the south. We can see the indications of that already, even in Book 1 of the Lord of the Rings. That is at the sign of the Prancing Pony, when we hear about the refugees that are coming up from the south. And the questions even then, are these refugees really, legit? Are they just people who are looking for help, or are they, do they have some other purpose? And it seems like many of them do, in fact, have another purpose. So there is already, in some sense anyway, the sort of the initial potential for the fact that they are in fact coordinated. We are going to be having lieutenants guiding them, and groups of them coming up from the south, being sent up by Saruman to set things up. So that off in the woods somewhere would be a network of or in cornfields and whatever, there would be a network of brigands which just has not yet struck. That seems to me entirely plausible. But again, I do, whether or not this is realistic, and certainly having this many brigands wandering around in the fields this close to Bree and have the rangers not even notice that, and Strider not paying a lick of attention, is not, of course, super realistic. It's a bit of an exaggeration, somewhat over the top, but nevertheless, it's I still like the general idea. I like the fact that we're getting to see, here's what's behind the scenes. Here's what is, the way that we can kind of see the future adventures being set up. And so I love the fact that we're not only getting the references to Book 1, but that we're actually seeing the setup for Book 6 as well. Did I get anything? No. Nothing but attacked, I guess. Just not very good at this pocket picking thing. What does this do again? Oh, it stuns them. Okay. I should try that. No, I don't want the bear. Bear doesn't help me. Okay, more brigands. Oh, yeah. See, keep wandering the cornfields long enough, you'll find more brigands. I can stun this one, so just run away. There we go. Okay. Message sent. Adso. I think we made our position clear. I wish I could challenge Bill Fernie to a little wrestling match, however. Alright, back to Adso, and then back into the old forest. I just love how there's just like bears and boars all over the place. It's a very active place, this. Really all the places in Lotro. Okay, Adso.
Is there something I can do for you?
Yeah. You stood up to him. Well, yeah. So did I. I helped with the standing up. Okay. Good. What do we got?
Would I take a moment of your time?
No, I don't have time for that one. But I'll do the other one.
Please stay a moment.
Standing up to the man, a fearsome brigand named Dirk Hawthorne, I feel I doomed us all. No, you didn't. He set up a camp immediately to the east, on the south side of the ruins. Okay, very good, yeah. He's going to stamp out your homestead? No problem. We'll repair his wagon. No worries. Tell you what, so I'm just going to go take care of that right away. But I'm not messing around. I'm not messing around with Dirk Hawthorne, my friend. Dirk Hawthorne is going to get the ninja treatment. Alright, Dirk Hawthorne. Does this one stun multiple enemies or only one? Only one. Okay. That's cool. Gotta remember my dazes here, as I'm going to be going into combat with multiple targets. Okay. Bears, I can do without. Alright. Got some brigand presence over here. Oops, yeah, including this guy that I didn't even see. I like that stun move. It's pretty cool. Okay. I think I see Dirk Hawthorne. I think he's down here, is he? No, Lieutenant. Still not there yet. Oh, yeah, that's his camp over there. Okay. Alright. Nobody threatens hobbit entrepreneurs on my watch. I'm in full support of hobbit entrepreneurs. But how about we let the lieutenants and bowmen wander through? Goodness, what a crowd. How about I not attack 6 of them at once? That seems like a bad idea. Man, they're going around in packs. Yeah. Why don't you guys wander off to the south? Look over there. There's something really attractive in that direction. Really? Yeah, you too. Why don't you all go check it out? That's right. That's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna have a snack. Got some cram action going. Got some sausage. Bet Dirk Hawthorne has something sweet. Bet I'm not going to find out what it is, though. Come on, Dirk Hawthorne. You coward. You low-life, pathetic... Okay. Oh, oh, no good. Oh, stun me, do you? Oh, I still got you, though. I still got you, so I can run away at any time. But I think I can take this guy. How about I run away now? Woohoo! I've got Dirk's whole posse after me. No problem. Arrows sticking out my back. You think you can catch me? Alright, my songs might not be stronger songs, but my feet are indeed faster. That's right. Give up and go home. Victory is mine. Okay. Excellent. I think I'll go back down to Adso this way. Okay. That was exhilarating. Better get back into my phone booth here. Okay. Alright, Ed, so I punched his ticket. But I've really got to go see Tom Bombadil soon. It's still afternoon, isn't it? Alright. That's a lovely location for an inn, though I gotta ask you, Adso. Why aren't you using any of these perfectly good Arnorian walls? Look at that, we still got the 7-pointed stars here. It was really funny. Last week, my 7-year-old son was watching the stream live last week when I was doing my little tour of Bree, and but he gave up after like 20 minutes because he was like, "You talked about walls for like 3 hours. It was really boring." Sorry, man. Okay, threats and follow-through. Here we go. Can we give Bill Fernie a bit of his own medicine? Ooh, do I get Bill Fernie? You're going to send me up after Bill?
Have a word with you?
Oh, no, I don't want to collect your goods now. Oh, well. Well, that was good. I was happy to help, Adso. Now, meanwhile...
What do you need?
Well, I'll cheerfully repair my stuff, but that's not what I came here for. I think I'm going to have to go back. See, Fairvenon, could you tell me what is the I want the spring water quest, which Graham Larkspur I know gives, though the Lotro wiki is actually inaccurate about that. What's the prerequisite for that? Which of these other quests do I have to do in order to get his...
Would you do something for me?
If you could tell me that, that'd be great. I'm just going to go in and find Tom Bombadil in the meantime. If I can't do Goldberry's quest, I'll just go say hi to her. That's fine. No big deal. Anyway, back into the Old Forest. We are starting to run low on time, but we're okay. We'll make it to the house of Tom Bombadil. I gotta say, this is a really impressive vista. I really like that. These trees, like you talk about the ancient trees of the Old Forest. That's really impressive. That's a huge tree. I really like this entrance. The private entrance, you know, the Brandybuck's private entrance, a little too tame, a little too domesticated. Here we are. Back in the Old Forest. Of course, now we're up here, whereas our spider friends were all down here. Let's see if I can succeed in not, in fact, getting lost. Or running into logs, which I can't jump over. Let's see if I can escape without being attacked by too many wolves. Just for the sake of... did you see the fungus just, like, grow on that tree? Some fast-growing fungus here in the old forest. Yeah, what's that? Oh, boy, yeah. Mobs are a little bit more intimidating up here. We got bats, we got... Oh, it's an awakened tree. Which is probably going to attack me because they've heard the stories about how I habitually leave trees to die and get killed by... Oh, the anger wood. Probably angry at me personally. I'm never going to live that down. Hey there, angry trees. I'm sorry about your friend. I really am so sorry about your friend. Warped oaks. See, notice though how they're warped, right? We have, we definitely have a that trend in the old forest. The way that they depict the old forest, again, it's not that they're, it's not that the old forest is itself intrinsically evil, or just that it happens to be populated by a bunch of dangerous creatures. It is populated by a bunch of dangerous creatures, but that's not the point. The point is that it is corrupted to some extent. And that, I think, is an interesting choice. It's not obvious that that's, in fact, the case in The Lord of the Rings. Oh, it's one of those flowers. Boy, this flower deed is non-trivial to accomplish. We did this in one of our Mythgard Kinship weekly events one time. Went and found them all, and I did find them all myself too. But it's there. You've got to really explore the whole forest to find all those flowers. Anyway, so am I going the right way now? Yes, I am. Okay. Anyway, so the idea of the forest being actually corrupted, actually sort of twisted to evil. In a sense, of course, the Lotro folks seem to be sort of just following up on the concept from Mirkwood, which is plainly a forest that is under affliction by evil rather than just being itself naturally evil. The old forest, it's less clear. It's an old forest, it's an angry forest, but it's not twisted. It's not actually evil. But again, there are things like the heart of Old Man Willow is black and evil, though his strength is green. And there are others who are like that. So, have they been twisted by an outside force? Well, it's not the same way. There's no Dol Guldur in the middle of the old forest, right? There's no force for evil that is acting on the old forest. In fact, the old forest is being pretty much run by this gentleman who's skipping and dancing about like a loon up here. I love Tom Bombadil. But I can sort of sympathize with the move that they've made in Lotro to make the old forest actually sort of twisted in that way. Laughing all the day I go, Tom's a merry fellow. Doesn't scan quite right. Tom Bombadil, almost everything Tom Bombadil says in the book is in verse. He has his meter, right? That the meter that Tom Bombadil speaks in, and it's actually trochaic heptameter, or trochaic hexameter if you care, so that all of the verse that he sings, ho Tom Bombadillo, by fire wood and by water wood and hill, by the reed and willow, by fire sun and moon, hearken now and hear us, come Tom Bombadil, for our need is near us. There's the verse that Frodo sings to call Tom Bombadil, and almost all of his lines, if you read his speeches, that is the stuff that's in prose, not the stuff that's in poetry, it all scans exactly the same way. It's really cool. Ho now, derry doll, merry doll. Is it water from the withy window? Water from the withy window soon I will be bringing. It's interesting. They're not quite scanning it right. Tom Bombadil, the Lotro Tom Bombadil speaks in heptameter, not in hexameter. It's got 7 feet per line there. It's close. They've almost got it, but it's not quite right. Wait, ho now, good day, merry friends. Tom, that sounds like prose. Why are you talking prose at me? That's just not right at all. But I like the fact that you skip all the time. And, of course, that most necessary thing of all, he's got bright blue jacket and yellow boots. That, of course, is an absolute necessity. And needless to say, the very first thing I did when I came to the house of Tom Bombadil was walk carefully, so as not to fall off the cliff, around the side and back of his house to see if there are beans on poles in his backyard, because you may remember in the Fellowship of the Ring, when they look out the back window of Tom's house when they wake up in the morning, all that they can, the narrator says that Frodo's view was screened by a line of beans on poles, and here in fact we have the beans on poles, and I suspect this little cutout here to be the window that Frodo was peering out of. So Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin would have been sleeping inside that room right there. And hey, it's Pine Leaf Needles. It is the famous Pine Leaf Needles, the Sultan of Skirmish. Good to see you, Pine Leaf. Pine Leaf is an absolute authority on the skirmish system in Lotro. Just an absolute mentor about skirmishes. So wonderful to run into a famous character like Pine Leaf here at the House of Tom Bombadil. Tom, I'm going to go in. You mind? Notice we've got these white stones along the path. That's mentioned in the book, is part of the description. Tom's house itself is really kind of interesting. It's made of stone, which is a little bit surprising to me. I would have expected a wooden house. Its architecture is quite peculiar. That's hardly surprising, because Tom's a pretty peculiar fellow. I love the fact that we do get like, and it's not exactly stained glass, but you know, the fact that the impression. Hang on, let me close the doors again. When you come up, you can see the light around the doorway. Now, I think that there, again, that fits the description of the Fellowship of the Ring. They saw the light from the door coming down the path to meet them as they're coming through the dark woods as night is falling. I think it's because the door is open, but I really love the fact that you get this warm, glowing light from the front of Tom's house. I think that's really cool. So let's see what's going on in Tom's. Goldberry's here. Hey, Goldberry. There she is, right? And she's got her basins of lilies of the water lilies that are going to bloom here around her pretty feet until the springtime. Right? So she's got her chair so she can sit there in the middle of her water lilies, just like it's described in the book. Hi, Goldberry. Good to meet you. When I come in and I found Goldberry here, I had this really weird experience. It felt like knocking on the door of a cottage, seeking a glass, like a woodman's cot, seeking a drink of water, and having the door answered by a fair young elf queen crowned in living flowers. That was kind of like the experience I just had. I don't know if you know what I mean, right? Because you all have had that experience. That's, of course, the simile that Tolkien uses in the book to describe Frodo's experience when he meets Goldberry for the first time. And I've always found that simile really delightful because of the sort of assumption that the simile that the narrator seems to make, that of course you're going to know what that's like, right? So that's why he's going to use that as a point of comparison. Okay, so they've got the cheese and the bread here, right? She's getting the icy yellow cream and honeycomb and white bread and butter. Okay, we're getting. Remember, if you remember that line, that's also a line from the Fellowship of the Ring when Tom Bombadil is describing what's on the table. And here, look at that. The table is laden for guests. That's so nice, so hospitable they are here at the House of Tom Bombadil. But anyway, when Tom describes that what's on the what's on the table. It's really fun because that's almost a direct quotation. That line is almost word for word from the original Adventures of Tom Bombadil poem, which Tolkien published in the 30s. And that line in the poem is the description of the wedding feast for him and Goldberry. He and Goldberry get married at the end of the poem after a fun courtship, eventful courtship. They get married at the end, and that's what they have for their wedding feast. So it's really kind of cool in the Fellowship of the Ring. It's like they're having their wedding feast every day. You know, it's like every day is like Tom and Goldberry's anniversary. Very nice. I like your outfit with the flower thing here. You got the water lily thing going on, right? Yeah, you've got the lines like the veins on a leaf, right? On a lily pad leaf. I like it. Very nice. Nice sandals. River Maiden. I wonder why they call her River Maiden. Goldberry, River Daughter, of course, is what I would have expected. Because that's what she's always called. I realized, by the way, that until I read the poem, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, where the river of which she is the daughter is explicitly referred to as her mother, I had always imagined the river was her father. And I later on, when trying to figure out why I had been assuming that her father was that the river was her dad, I realized it's C.S. Lewis's fault. It's because of the image of the river god in Prince Caspian that I'd always imagined the river as being masculine and therefore her dad, but it's actually her mom. Whoa. What just happened there? Was that like the glow of awesome hope? Wow, my hope is up to 8? Absolutely. Wow. I'm at like some of my maximum hope I've ever been. Does the picture get all glowy like that when my Estelle is at its maximum high? Oh, I did it again. If I skip around with you, Tom, will that help? Sing away the gnarling root at dawning or at gloaming. Sing away the gnarling root at dawning or at gloaming. Sing away the gnarling root at dawning or at gloaming. Still heptameter, but it is trochaic at least. They're getting the rhythm right. It's not iambic. Okay. Anyway, Tom, I should talk to you. I've got a crow problem. It's kind of embarrassing, but if you could help.
Hey, do, Mary
Hey,
do,
now,
my
come
hearty.
hoy now. What's all this fussing? Now again, if they had made Tom Bombadil's dialogue in trochaic hexameter, my esteem and respect for the Welsh people would have been even greater. We've not had so many guests since our wedding. There is time enough for bird watching, but perhaps first a song or two, my hearty. Rhythm not quite right, but there is time enough for bird watching. Sounds exactly like something Tom would say. Let your heart fly free and put aside your worries. You are at the house of Tom Bombadil. Okay.
What can
Yes,
I do
we
for
are.
you today?
All right. Goldberry's away. Actually, she's home, Tom. She's right there. And I was going lily hunting. Oh, can we help you collect the lilies? That's so nice. Oh my goodness, I'm so honored. He's going to look for your crows. I'll gather lilies. Okay. All right. I'll find Old Man Willow. He's a mighty singer. Yeah, that's what I've heard. He'll sing you down to sleep and drown you. I bet he will. I've heard that's what he does. I can't wait. I'm going to meet Old Man Willow. Okay. We'll go find the water lilies. So, Old Man Willow, he's a mighty singer. Down to the river. So far I'm dodging the fauna relatively well. Let's see if we can keep it up here. Okay, all paths lead that way down to the Withy window. Oh, there he is. Man. Wow, that is scary. He's just like continuously writhing, and this wolf is gonna attack me. Hang on, Old Man Willow. Be right there. Don't go away, Old Man Willow. Guess there's not too much worry about that. He's not especially ambulatory, is Old Man Willow. A mighty singer he may be, but ambulatory he is not. Oh, oops, I'm still up a cliff. Hey, I'm going to try my safe fall skill. Yeah. Nice! That was awesome. Okay, sorry. Okay, Old Man Willow, you're going to put me to sleep. Also, he's draining my power. That is so clever. I really admire the fact that they don't make, you know, I better be careful here, lest Old Man Willow actually take me out while I'm, like, lecturing about him here. How about I just collect some lilies, and then I'll talk about you from a safer distance, okay? Okay. Whew. There we go. So I really admire, this is one of the things, you know, that it's, for me, Old Man Willow is sort of a defining example of what separates Lotro from so many other video game ideas. I mean, in almost every other game, Old Man Willow would be a boss fight, right? I mean, you know, you just have to come and there'd be like this huge, so you'd fight through all these little tree minions and then you'd get to like the big boss tree in the middle and you'd be end up standing there with your like little daggers and maces hitting at Old Man Willow, at which point you're like 100% in video game land and you've left Tolkien's Middle-earth behind entirely. The way that they have made the danger of Old Man Willow be commensurate with his description in the book. So the fact that he doesn't attack you, he doesn't lash out and beat you with his branches, and you can't attack him back. You can't, you can't. I couldn't pummel him into submission with the little two mace thing I have going on here. Instead, he just drains your power, so that eventually, if you succumb to the power of his singing, you will fall asleep and he will drown you, like he almost did to Frodo if Sam hadn't been there. Marking the first time, I believe, that Sam saves Frodo's life in the books. Let's see. Where is the path? It's the way up over... Oh, yeah, I gotta come this way. Okay, here it is. Anyway, so that's I just love the way that they do. I think that's so thoughtful to make Old Man Willow be a danger like he, of the same sort of danger that he is in the books. I think that's just, it's so well done. I'm really, oh, there I went again. To maximum hope. So cool. Got some water lilies for you.
Merry do, my hearty.
Stronger than hobbit folk are. If I outsang Willow, well, I didn't outsing him exactly. I just kind of ran away. But good. I'm glad you like the lilies. Tom knows when it's time for dancing or to go a-whiting. That's an interesting verb. A-whiting. Hey, let's go a-whiting. Sounds like the fish. I'm not sure about that verb. Okay, he's found your birds and none too soon. If you seek them out, then seek them now, unless you wish to sleep beneath green grass. Okay.
Hello, friend.
Where are they?
Can I help you with something?
Okay. All right. There's a dreary... okay. Beware the old barrows. They stir when they should be a-sleeping. Okay. No. That's rhythmically not a good sentence. Sorry, I'm going to stop poetically nitpicking Tom Bombadil's dialogue. Go north up the path and follow the old barrows. Okay, right. Go to the barrows. That sounds fun. Okay. South along. All right. There I'll find them. The Crowbine. Okay. So you found the crows and are hanging out in the barrow downs. Should have expected that. Okay. Into the barrow downs we go. No problem. Okay. So, let's see. I think I had another question, which, of course, the very sensible question. What is Tom Bombadil anyway? What an excellent question that is. By the way, I think it's really funny that they gave Tom this like Amish beard. He seems to shave his mustache but leave his bushy beard. That's kind of funny. What is Tom Bombadil? Tom Bombadil is a mystery. Tolkien mentions in his letters that he deliberately left Tom Bombadil a mystery because he likes for there to be mysteries in story. But but whenever I approach this question, there are always I'm going the wrong way here. Whenever I approach this question, there are always, I think, two ways to think about it that are important to keep in mind. One is the answer within the story, and the other is the answer outside the story. That is, if you want to know who Tom Bombadil is within the world of Middle-earth, if we're sort of imagining within the story world, how do we explain Tom Bombadil? He could only be one of the Ainur, who came, he claims to have been here on this patch of ground since before the Dark Lord came from outside, which if you read the Silmarillion means before Morgoth came to Arda. So we're talking a long time ago. Before all of the events, before the elves, before, he saw the little people arriving, before the elves came, he's been here. Bob! Oh, no relation, right? You can't be the Bob.
Would I take a moment of your time?
Mr. Butterbur's Tales? Is this the Bob? No way. Bob can't be hanging out in the Barrow Downs looking for his daughter Lelia. You know what? Bob, I might come back and help you with your daughter Lelia later, but I am not getting distracted by that right now because I know just how your daughter Lelia carries on. That can't be the same Bob. Is that meant to be the same Bob? That's not Mr. Butterbur's Bob. He refers to Mr. Butterbur, but that could just mean that he's from Bree. Anybody in Bree would know Mr. Butterbur, of course. That would be shocking if Bob of the Prancing Pony were here in the Barrow Downs. Okay, here we are. I better go along over here to the south. I guess, here. Gotta fit in with the local fauna. Okay. Excellent. And here we go. How are we doing for time? Oop, it's 2 o'clock now. Let's find the Crabine and we can go back to Tom Bombadil next time. Ghost with a ring over his head floating around. I'm looking for crows. Tom Bombadil said they were here. There's an old barrow down here. I'm glad that the Barrow Downs are actually downs. We don't really use that word in America, but what a down is just like a very high hill, but not a hill that's sitting by itself. When you've got like a really high hill that's all isolated, that's a tor. That's not a down. A down is like a it's almost like a plateau. Like you climb up the really steep hill and then you're up on top. You've got highlands for a while. Those are the downs. So they have geographically gotten the Barrow Downs right. That's why we were going up that cliff. Now we're going down the other side of the down over here. Crows. Okay. Andraste, huh? That's interesting. And her Crabine scouts. Okay, I found your crows, and I'm gonna have a snack. Coney pie, blueberry muffin? No, I think a coney pie is what I really want. Yeah, it is. I'm feeling like a coney pie. Well, I'm gonna just... Hang on, Andraste. I'm good. I'll be with you in a second. Okay. Did I think you're... Uh-oh, you know about the ring... I failed utterly? Oh, dear. The master's gonna learn it. I better get moving here. Look, you think I can't take out your birds? I've so got your birds. Okay. Keep on my health here. Okay, so far. You cannot hope to defeat me. I am far too burglarious for you. I killed your birds. I am the Crabine Slayer. Oh yeah. You were really no match for me. Okay, I gotta go back to Tom Bombadil now. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to... Actually, let me go back to Tom Bombadil's house. Let's end there. That won't take too long. I'll go back to Tom Bombadil's house. And actually, since I'm so burglarious, I can now use Safe Fall. I'm going to jump off a cliff and take a shortcut to Tom Bombadil's house. Okay. But anyway, so I was answering the who is Tom Bombadil question. So he says that he's been there. For like ever, practically since the beginning of Middle Earth. Since Middle Earth was Middle Earth, he's been here. The fact that he claims to predate all of the children of Iluvatar shows that within the world of Middle Earth, if we're to understand him at all, he is one of the Ainur, presumably a Maiar. So, but really that doesn't kind of help all that much. I mean, to really understand Tom Bombadil and who Tom Bombadil is, I find it most fun to think about him from outside the world. That is from the history of Tolkien's own writing, because of course Tom Bombadil was brought in to was brought into the Lord of the Rings. He was a pre-existing character. Tolkien had already written him. He'd written that poem that I've been mentioning, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, about him already. So, hey, Goldberry's outside now. Hey, Goldberry, what you doing over here? You're all over the place. Goldberry's not usually here. Is she here for the festival? Is there something Goldberry related going on for the summer festival which just started, I wonder? No, I just don't usually see you standing in the side yard over here. Interesting. Anyway, so, again, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil is a very whimsical poem that Tolkien wrote quite early on in his career. So it was published in the early 30s, written before that. So, written back in the 20s probably. And he just loved Tom and Goldberry, and he just brings them in to the Lord of the Rings, and that's why they don't seem to fit. I mean, Tom Bombadil and Goldberry don't seem fully naturalized citizens within the world of the Lord of the Rings, and they're not really. But that's, I think, part of what makes them so much fun, and I'm totally fine with that. Anyway, cool. Oh, I see. Excellent. Gordrio is telling me that Goldberry apparently got added in here at Tom Bombadil's house in update 16.2, which I just uploaded, which I just patched in yesterday. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Well, let me go to. It looks like Tom Bombadil's inside. Hey, Tom. Good to see you.
Hey, do, merry do, my hearty.
Did I say Othringoth? I didn't realize I said Othringoth, but okay. It's a dark place full of dark wights. Oh, good. I don't have any... I should go to the Great Barrow. Okay. All right. I need a what? Ooh. A new sword? Oh yeah, I'll take that.
What can I do for you today?
Okay, not a place for weak hearts or frail limbs. Ooh, it's an orange quest. I accept. I like orange quests. Okay, so I'm going to be transported to the barrow here. I'm almost 19. All right, so we'll go and we'll do the Great Barrow next time. We'll start with the Great Barrow, and then we'll come. We're just about done with Book 1 of Volume 1 of the Epic Quest. Finally, so we're actually making progress in the Epic Quest line now. So having met Tom Bombadil and having met Goldberry, we'll finish up Book 1, and then probably head out towards the Lone Lands and Weathertop for next time. So maybe we'll get as far as Weathertop. It'd be really fun to explore Weathertop together next time. So I'm looking forward to continuing on the trail of the Fellowship here as we continue our adventures in Middle-earth next week. Thanks for joining me, everybody. One quick note that I would mention, there is a possibility I'm going to be traveling next week. I might be able to have my internet connection as normal next Friday, but there's a chance that I won't. So just if you, for those of you who are attending live, if you show up to the stream next week and I don't come, I'll try to send a note anyway, but I'm hoping still to make it, but we'll see. That may or may not happen. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up about that. But then after that, I hope we should be normal for the rest of the summertime. So thanks very much for joining me, everybody, and I will see you guys very soon in Middle-earth. Thanks, everybody. Bye.